Hey, hello everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Hangout number 78. Um, got some fun things to talk about tonight, especially of the some more of the Polish woman Madeleine McCann nonsense, um, stuff on Alex Murdaugh, and a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm glad you're all here. Please do tell me if you can see and hear me, just because I've been having some more of those fun little issues with the computer. But I want to welcome everybody who's in the chat room. Um, let's see who's here tonight. We've got, it's way back. Benny was here, but he was in Denmark, so he went to sleep. Can't blame him. Is it Sayana? You're new to the channel, and I don't know if I pronounced your name. Siona, something like that. Welcome. You're not new to the channel, but you're new here, so we're glad to have you here. If you've been following the channel for a while and you joined Patreon, I'm pretty sure you're one of the people that we're going to really enjoy having around. And Fairy Princess is here. You'll be back. Did you come back? Aunt Deanie is here. Melissa is here. Sky Ricky is here. Let's see. Molly is here. Tikkun is here. Grandma Tat is here. Strega is here. Scarlett is here. Let's see. Did I just say? And if I miss your name, it's not because I want to miss your name. Michaela is here. This is true. There's no lack of scumbags in this world. That's true. That's why I can do this show forever. And let's see. We got Emily here from Canada. And let's see. Let's see. Tracy is here. Kelly is here. Who else is here? Annie Haley is here. Now, Michaela. Sarah, wow, you're a special babe. She doesn't take any of my suggestions on the board, so I've stopped giving them. No, Michaela, never stop giving them. What happens is, as I get suggestions in, I throw them on a list, but sometimes it just comes down to, as I'm studying different ones, one comes through that I know I can actually talk about. Because sometimes I start researching it, I just don't think I can make a show out of it. I don't have enough to analyze. And then sometimes I throw it on a list and I just forget because so many are coming in. So it's okay to be that squeaky wheel and annoy the heck out of me with something you really want me to do. Do it, So, because, I would never not want to do something you wanted me to do, Michaela. Just, it gets tough when there's so many coming in. And eventually I'm hoping to get to all the great crimes. Let's see, anybody else here who I missed? Florence is here. Did I already say Scarlett? Rosanna is here. Melissa is here. And if I missed you, really apologize. But, it's hard when the list comes through. And if you would like to be here, folks, okay, if you'd like to be here, please do click the link below, join Patreon, and you can be at all the live shows, which are at least 8 a month. And you can participate in our great community. And also, please do like and subscribe. That helps support an educational channel, and I always appreciate that. So, all right, let's get to things of tonight. All right. So I'm getting ready, and some of you have commented that normally this is a brown liquid because I drink a lot of Diet Pepsi, but I quit Diet Pepsi 7 days ago. I'm probably for the 20th time in my life, but still, I want to quit Diet Pepsi. So this is my homemade sparkling water. Really. Mm-hmm. It's not vodka, as I said last time. However, I can turn water into wine. That I can do, especially at a hangout. So this is a very fine, the company is not paying me. This is a very fine Sauvignon Blanc. It's Kim Crawford from New Zealand. Very, very nice Sauvignon Blanc. So anyway, if anybody else has something out there, I know Benny would be here with a scotch if he were still awake. Hopefully it's not next to his bed. Okay, so let me carry on now. And you all can hear me. Can you all hear me? I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'm laughing at Sarah's comment here. I'm proud of you, brown drinks at regulators. It's a rap thing between us. All right. So anyway, and I know I just do not look like a person who likes rap, but I do like the 90s rap. So what can I say? Anyway. All right. Let's go to the first thing I want to talk about. I'm going to do one tiny thing on Nicola Bulley, and then I'm going to go on to the Madeleine McCann stuff. All right. The reason I want to point out the Nicola Bulley thing is, she's a woman who sadly went missing and was found in the river in the UK. She was a mother of two, and she went out for a morning walk with her dog after she dropped the children at the school. And people saw her walking the dog, and then they found her phone and her dog, and she's in the river. All right. So, but it took them like 3 weeks to find her, and there was a dive team that worked on this case for a couple of weeks, and then they said, not in the river. Well, the dive expert's name is Peter Faulding, and he has now been tossed off the list for dive teams that the police will use. Okay, and he's quite upset about that. And it says here in this article, diving expert Peter Faulding has been made a scapegoat over the investigation of the death of Nicola Bulley, whose body was found in the River Wire 3 weeks after she went missing. Mr. Faulding, previously registered as an expert on the National Crime Agency's list of experts, was struck off from the list after his team failed to locate Ms. Bulley's body in the 3-mile stretch of the river. All right. That's not why I think they threw him off the list. Her body, he did not find her in that part of the river, and he claims, well, that's what he searched, so hey, he didn't find her there. True, but she was found in the river, but it wasn't in a bunch of weeds and stuff that the body seemed to go into, on kind of a little offshoot thing there. I do not blame the diving expert for not being successful with the tools he had, and he explained all that. He said, I wouldn't have found her in that particular location. Okay, I think that's fine, and that's not why they're chucking him off the list. But it's interesting that this is being said now by leaping to his defense. Former police detective and criminologist and also an investigative journalist, Mark Williams Thomas, claimed that Mr. Faulding and his team's ability to find bodies on land and water were among the best in the world. Okay, I'm good with what Williams Thomas is saying about that. But he then goes on to say he's been made a scapegoat. All right, that though they're trying to say the reason we didn't find her, it's his fault. Okay, now I will say this about Mark Williams Thomas. I'm not a fan of his because, first of all, he thinks Madeleine McCann was abducted. And secondly, he knows who shot Jill Dando. And I have problems with his analyses and the way he promotes those analyses and does lots of TV. And it's okay if he does TV, but I've never quite agreed with him on many of the things he said. And I don't think a lot of times he supports his conclusions with evidence. And I don't think he supports this with evidence either. I think the reason he got knocked off was because what's his name again? Sorry, I forgot his name already. Peter Faulding. I had a sip of the wine. Peter Faulding. I just can't remember names or faces. Peter Faulding said way too much to the public. He said that she wasn't in the river, point blank. Then he said, because her phone was found there and the harness, that this was he said it was a decoy, which he meant staged crime scene, indicating she had been abducted. Now he's still saying things like, well, somebody might put a body in the river. So he keeps opening his mouth. He's a dive expert. He's supposed to find bodies. He's not supposed to analyze crimes. And what he's doing is he's stepping on the police's toes when they are bringing him in. And now he's basically saying to the public, don't trust the police. They screwed everything up, but they don't know what they're doing. That's why he's off the list, not because he's not a good dive expert. But, if you're a good dive expert, do what you do well and shut up. That's my opinion. Shut up. So anyway, by the way, again, can you actually see and hear me properly? I just want to make sure, because I said I had some little issues and I haven't seen anybody tell me that. So before I go into Madeleine McCann, I want to make sure that you actually can hear me. Hi, Cheryl from the UK. Did you just miss what I just said about Nicola Bulley? Okay. I see. Yes. Okay. Everything's good. Okay. Let me go to Madeleine McCann. Because this just gets more stupider and stupider, shall we say. Stupider and stupider. No, everybody can see and hear me. Okay. You can quit now. All right. I just wanted to be sure. All right. So now we go to Polish woman. I never give her name because I don't want to. I don't want to show her face, and I don't want to give her name because that's what she's seeking, that specific type of publicity. So for a second, just in case you don't know what I'm talking about, I will show this picture. This is Madeleine McCann at some point before she disappeared. And this is the Polish woman when she was a child, claiming that she looks just like Madeleine McCann, and therefore she is Madeleine McCann. All right. So now what has happened recently? There's a bunch of really interesting stuff. Okay, so first of all, the family has gone to the Polish police, and the Polish police have stated that that woman is not Madeleine McCann. They have had proof from the family by way of birth certificate and by way of photos that show that this child grew up with that family. And I'm going to guess here that they're seeing photos of her at different stages. So it's not like she popped up at 4 or 5 years old in the family pictures, so there's nothing before that. Of course, the woman claims that there's no pictures of her mother being pregnant. There's no picture, whatever. That's all she says. And then her, this woman, this woman, her psychic / PI / publicist, okay, she claims that the birth certificate could be fake. Well, the police have this information, and they've said categorically it's not. This woman is not Madeleine McCann. Now, the family says she's been in therapy. She's been on meds. She's been in and out of therapy that they obviously have paid for, but she doesn't seem like a very successful human being. And she's always sought attention. Well, one of the funny things that came up on one of the sites, and I think there's enough evidence to say this is accurate. Hold on a second, let me find it. Is this the one? Hold on a second. I got a bunch of things. Well, that's the next one I'm going to do. Hold on a second. All right. This is it. All right. The woman claiming to be Madeleine McCann says, "Yes, I made porn videos." Which just makes me laugh. Sorry. So anyway, she says, let's see, where's the thing on the porn video she actually confesses to doing. She says they spoke to her and asked her about her past, and she confessed to the videos being her. The sex videos are on sites ManyVids, Model Hub, I Want Clips, and Pornhub. Okay. Yes, I have made pornographic videos, but I'm not a porn actress. Well, you're just a porn suck as an actress? I mean, you weren't an actress. You were making porn vids because they were like homemade porn vids with some dude you hang out with. So you're not really an actress. You're just, what? Really? Okay. And the fact that I've made them does not change anything. Okay. What changes something for me? It shows me that, yes, you do indeed seek massive attention, and you'll do whatever it takes to get that kind of attention. So, yes. Yeah, I'm still in the, boy, are you a scammer, and boy, are you an attention seeker, and boy, do you have a personality disorder, which seems like psychopathy, and it seems like you are exhibiting Munchausen's, which everything you can do to bring attention to yourself. Okay, now let's go to the next story on her. All right, so now I've always said that when she loses the game of I think I'm Madeleine McCann, but there's proof that she isn't. People keep saying she should just get the DNA test. Why can't people do the DNA test? I'm sorry, but screw her. No one has to jump to her little tune because she wants to be famous. The McCanns don't have to do it. Her family doesn't have to do it. If the police say it's not her, no one has to give her a DNA test. Oh, all these people out there. Oh my God, we just want to know. No, you want to know because I don't know what your issue is, because you won't believe the truth in front of you. I could care less about a DNA test for this woman because I know she's not Madeleine McCann, and I don't think she deserves the DNA test. But then people say, but what if, maybe she was another kidnapped child? She should have a DNA test for that. All right. I knew this game was going to come up. As soon as the Madeleine McCann thing started failing for her, she would jump to the next thing, which she did, of course. And so now she is saying she might be, hold on. All right. The news story is, oh, wait a minute. Before I do this story, I got one more thing I have to say. Okay, so her psychic / PI / publicist, this woman, by the way, I'm going to do a whole separate video on her because she is a massive scammer. What a scammer woman this is. I'm going to do a whole video on her massive scams, full of lies, scamming, attention seeking. She's the whole package. So the Polish woman's got nothing on her. So I'm going to do a whole video on her just alone because one scammer has found another scammer. And I don't know how they hooked up, but since I got emails from Polish scammer, I'm assuming that she must have put out all these emails, and the California psychic scammer got her email and said, hot damn, this is going to work for me. Because why would she care if the woman's a scammer and she's a scammer? So they're happy scammers. So anyway, so the new thing. Oh, so what I want to say about this was, this comes from this moron. She claims that the Polish scammer lady grew up in a small town, you see. Okay, let me pull up the article on this. Hold on a second. I forgot. The problem is advertising. Advertising comes up on these sites, and they block what you're looking at. So, and I don't know why the sites on Madeleine McCann have massive advertisement crap on it. Oh, come on now. Hold on, I got to work my way back. So I wanted to read you the actual. Oh, here we go. All right. This comes from I don't even know what media outlet this is. Woman claiming to be Madeleine McCann grew up unnoticed in a tiny town. So this scammer woman, and her name is Doctor. There's no proof of that, I'm telling you. Fia Johansson. She says that she grew up unnoticed in this tiny town, and one more second, everything's freezing here. Stop freezing. Really? It's freezing. Yeah, I hate that. Hold on a sec. I want to read the quote from her because it's funny. And my screen is frozen. So I'm going to use my phone because the screen is now frozen and I can't get there. All right. So I'm going to find. All right. Where is this amusing one? All right. Let me see if it's this one. Yes. All right. This one's not freezing on me. Thank God. All right. Now listen to the words she says here, which I think is just so funny. So she's grown up in this tiny town. And I like the word grown up because she doesn't seem to say when she arrived in this tiny town. But she says this. This is the greatest quote ever. And I think these people in the tiny town ought to send her some love. Not really. She said, they are living in a very small town where they wouldn't have had TV or news going on. This very small town doesn't have TV or news. Where are they living? In small caves in the mountain? This is the stupidest thing I've heard. I'm like, when I read that, I'm like, all right. So the people in the small town apparently have no access to the internet or TV, and they've never seen a picture of Madeleine McCann. And it's a small town. So if it's a small town, she can't get lost in it. If she were in a big city, it would make more sense. But she's in a small town, so everybody in town would have seen the girl. And not one person in town, because they didn't have a TV or the internet, recognized her as Madeleine McCann. I mean, this is the honest stupidity of it all. All right. So now let's go to her new claim. All right. So let me see if I can find it now that my thing is jamming up here. Is this the one? Okay, here we go. Woman claiming to be Madeleine McCann has taken a DNA test amid reports that she may be a different missing child. Reports from where? I ask you. This is what's so funny. Reports from where? This is the problem with the major media. They say stuff that's just complete garbage. The woman who claims she may be Madeleine McCann has reportedly Who reported that? Oh, we don't know. Taken a DNA test in order to find out whether she could be another missing child. So then it says, her latest claims come after thousands of people suggested that this woman is similar to another missing child. Thousands of people, all those morons on the internet who keep saying, "Oh, I feel so bad for you. You're such a nice person. You probably were abused and kidnapped." The ones I keep blocking off on my channel. All right. They say that she looks similar to another missing child named Livia, a Swiss child who went missing at the age of 6. Okay, now just stop for a minute and think about this. Livia went missing at the age of 6 from Switzerland. Now, Polish scammer lady went to kindergarten. So she went to kindergarten before, because she'd be 5. So she was in kindergarten at 5 before this girl was even kidnapped, but they're the same person. But okay, let's say that she wasn't really 5. She went to kindergarten when she was 6 or 7 because whoever kidnapped her hid her for 2 years and then, for whatever reasons, moved her, pretended she was younger than she actually was. So this Swiss girl now ends up going to a Polish kindergarten and she speaks perfect Polish. Oh my God. Is that not amazing? So this is the stupidity of it all. And this woman deserves a whole lot of the slapping down because she's helping a scammer because she's a scammer. And I'm going to do a whole separate video on that piece of work. All right. I'm going to check your comments. We're up to 43 now. Take a little break. This. Oh my goodness. All right. So let's see what y'all have to say about all of this nonsense. All right. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but if you're talking about the psychic scammer, media outlets should have screened her better before they gave her publicity, or the Polish woman. They don't care, regardless of who it is. They're letting the Polish woman speak. They're letting the fake psychic. Well, she's a psychic. She's fake everything else. Letting her speak because they don't care about the truth. They don't care about checking out a story before they do it. They just care about getting attention themselves. They're kind of pretty questionable for their personality disorder as a whole industry, shall we say? Let's see. The pick of that publicist. She does a whole. I mean, she's got a whole. You're gonna have to watch the whole video I'm going to do on her because it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, fascinating. So I had fun investigating her and saying, "Oh my God, what a fraud and a half!" Goodness. Is there any truth? No, Strega. Like 0. She is a Polish citizen, born apparently in Poland, to the family she was born to. And there's proof of that. There's no way she is anybody's missing child. She's accusing her mother of being a kidnapper. She's a horrible human being. And I'm sick to death of anybody. I won't say that, but what? The intro was missing again? Are you kidding me? That was so weird. How does the intro? Oh, this is the problem I had last time, and I had to have the whole thing edited to put that back in. I'm gonna have to check that out because they've been having problems with that. That's StreamYard. That's the platform. So I'll have to check it out. Then I have to make my son do editing because I don't do it. So let's see. Oh, sounds like this woman wants to draw more people to her films. Don't you think? I mean, she's a porn actress, even though she claims she's not a porn actress. I don't know what else she would be. She can't act, so that's probably true. She's just a porn presenter. She does sex on video. Okay, that's it. She does hardcore sex on video. Yeah, she'll get more people. I don't know how, and she's already claiming, that's the other thing she's claiming, that these pedophiles are trying to lure her to hotels. Well, first of all, Why would pedophiles, the girls in their 20s now, and they know pedophiles are going to do that. Men are trying to lure her. Oh, you think maybe it's because you do porn? But yeah, I think she would definitely, definitely get more money in her porn videos. Why wouldn't she get that? Yeah. Yes. Oh, I don't know if the psychic lady uses collagen. She's probably using, what I use. It's just the fake face thing I forgot the name of it now. I use it all the time too, because I rather see myself looking good on my thumbnails than looking like I really look. Yeah, I use that all the time. In case you ever want to use it, it's actually quite lovely. I like it very much. What is the name of it? It's I don't know what the name of it is. Should be here. It's a Face App. Face App is the one I use. It's awesome. And you can play around with it. You can make yourself older. You can make yourself look younger. You can just turn yourself into all kinds of things. And it's amusing. And so I don't really have too much of an issue with people using things like that, just, because they want a good picture of themselves. And I have seen her in a video. So she looks okay. I don't think she has a bad look. So she's been in a movie, and I'm going to talk about that movie she's been in. Let's see. I don't know why you feel sorry for her. Why would you feel sorry for a person who's destroying people's lives? She's destroying her family's life. There's no reason to feel sorry for her, because if she's a scammer and is a psychopath, if she's a psychopath and a scammer, she's a criminal, and she's abusing everyone around her for her own enjoyment. It's not like she can't help herself. It's not like she's got some serious emotional problem that she's just a lost little lamb. And that's what a lot of people think. That's not true. She is a vindictive, manipulative, premeditated abuser of human beings, especially her own family. That's why they really want nothing more to do with her. They're done with her, and her boyfriend dumped her too, supposedly, because she uses people. That's what psychopaths use you. Either you're useful, you're in the way, and they'll just manipulate the heck out of you. They don't care about you. And so while we are spending all the time, oh, maybe this, maybe that. No. They're not nice people. We don't have to feel sorry for them. What we do have to feel sorry for is all the victims who are struggling to get the police to pay attention to their cases, to have more manpower on their cases, the real victims of crime, when this woman's running around getting all the attention. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening, in my opinion. So, yeah, she's not mentally ill. She exhibits psychopathy. That's completely different. She's not that she's got psychosis or any of that stuff. She is what she is. Now, we can feel sorry that she ended up that way, if you want to say that. I mean, I look at all psychopaths and I'm like, I don't know how they ended up being psychopaths. We can go back to their little early years when they're 1 or 2 and say, well, if they had somehow they just, they have attachment disorder. Something went wrong in the early years. And people are going, oh my God, she was abused. We have no clue she was ever abused. She claims that. Doesn't mean it's true. So it's hard to tell. I've dealt with people who are psychopaths and I looked at their histories. And a lot of times the history is not that bad. But for whatever reasons, they turn into a pretty evil human being. And we can feel sorry for whatever thing that made them that way. But when they're in front of you, they don't care about you one bit. So if you're going to feel sorry for it, well, maybe you're a super nice person, but I do not like what she's doing to other human beings. And for that reason, I speak out very strongly, because we keep giving psychopaths chances and pity and all this kind of thing. And maybe they just need some more help. We allow them to keep abusing and abusing and abusing and abusing because we don't come back strongly against that. Sometimes in life, you got to take a stand and say, what you're doing is absolutely wrong and criminal, period. And we don't have, I always say I leave sympathy up to God. If a serial killer, I say if he's on death row and he gets executed, I'm like, I'm all for that. You're a serial killer. You killed other people. You tortured and killed innocent people. You took away their lives. They never did anything wrong. They didn't even commit a crime. They never got an investigation. They never got a court case. They got no appeals. They got nothing. You gave them a death sentence in the cruelest and most horrible way. And then after you file appeals for 30 freaking years, you finally, if people are lucky, you finally get a death sentence. And what do? You get to go nicely to sleep with some drug. I have no pity. I'm sorry, I don't, for where you are today. And I say, once you leave this earth, God can deal with you. And if there's something in your little early childhood that there's some reason, then God can give pity. But I don't think that the victims' families need to do it. I don't think citizens need to do it. I think we need to start taking a stronger stand because we feel too sorry for crappy people. We do. And that's why crappy people keep abusing the living heck out of us. And that's a good statement. Feeling for psychopaths is dangerous because they see your sympathy as a weakness. That is absolutely true. And that makes you a viable future target. And other people too. Because when they see that they can do this to one person, then they take that knowledge and they move it to somebody else. And that's the problem. If we don't stop psychopaths, they hurt other people. And so if we stand down and go, well, and we'll just be nice about it, we allow other people to be harmed. I'm not okay with that. I think at some point we have to say, no, we're not, we can't let people back out of, like when people, somebody's caught doing something horrible and they get a reduced sentence and they're out in the street in 6 months for doing something dreadful. And we say, well, we want to give them another chance. Another chance? Well, you're not giving those victims that they're about to hurt. They're not getting a chance. They're getting killed. And, a lot of times I hear about that, like with the concept that it's better to have, what is it? Out of 10 men, it's better to have, what is that thing? 9 men go free than 1 man be, wrongly convicted. Well, when those 9 serial killers go free, they kill about 50 more women or children or whatever, or men. So for us to save one person from misery and wrongness, we condemn dozens of people to a brutal and horrible death without a trial. So yes, I don't want to see an innocent person go to prison. That is absolutely something I don't want to see. But I also don't want to see us to be so wimpy that we keep letting all the other guys go because we're, maybe not, whatever, and then innocent people pay the price for our wimpiness. So anyway, that was my soapbox for today. Thank you, Loretta. That is true. They need to be locked up because there's no rehabilitation for psychopathy. That is correct. There is making sure they don't commit that crime again, because either you're watching them, they're locked up, you're watching them, or you make it not worth their while. That can be true. There are many psychopaths who aren't violent. They live out here manipulating and all that, but they still cause a lot of damage because people keep falling for it. So anyway, that is my soapbox for today. I wasn't intending to go there, but I hate scammers. I do. I hate liars and I hate scammers. I have a real issue with that. So anyway, let me go on to Alex Murdaugh and what's going on with the trial. Because today, and I confess I am not watching the trial. Okay, I'm not. I'm getting bits and pieces. And today they had their defense expert on. He's a crime scene analyst. He does a blood spatter pattern. He's a forensics guy. And he came on today and stated that Alex Murdaugh didn't think he killed his wife and son because 2 people were involved in the crime, according to his analysis of how the shooting went down. And first, let me tell you who he is and what I think of some of the things he said. Okay, hold on a second. I have to find it. Where'd it go? Let's see. Where is it? Ah, crap. Okay, it's here somewhere. Where'd it go? Okay, I might have to look up. I forgot the guy's name, so I got to look it up again. Because I somehow let's see. His name is Tim Palmbach. He's the defense expert for the defense team. And by the way, one of the problems this so exhibited why I have such a problem again with lay juries, civilian juries, because when I started looking at, because I haven't examined this case, and when I started looking at all the forensics and the way the shooting went down, for example, there's these different, this is a location, and the little, where it says dog kennels, where that black dot is, that's where the son was found, and the wife was found where the other black dot is. And then if you get into the crime scene, there's all this blood spatter pattern, and there's things ejected from the gun in this place and that place, and there's all these pieces of information. And first of all, the prosecutor comes out, the expert for the prosecution comes out and explains one guy did this. He had 2 guns. This is how he did it. And he goes, a complicated explanation, all based on angles of things and all that stuff. And now this guy comes out, and his name again is Timothy Palmbach. I think that's how you say his name. He's from the University of New Haven. He is let me tell you who he is. He's from the forensic department, and he's with the Henry C. Lee, and everybody loves Henry Lee, College of Criminal Justice and Forensic Science. He's got a JD from the University of Connecticut and an MS from the University of New Haven. He is a fellow and instructor of the Henry Lee Institute of Forensic Science. He has served 22 years with the Connecticut Department of Public Safety. He's done a lot of crap, okay? And he, there's a lot of people out saying he's completely unqualified. Oh, he doesn't have a doctorate or something. And and they attack him for that. They say, oh, it's amazing that the attacks he got. And I thought it was ridiculous because his resume is stellar. I mean, if I had that resume, if I had his resume, I could actually testify in court. I don't, and therefore nobody will put me on I won't testify in a courtroom situation, and nobody will put me there because I get eaten up alive by whoever. Probably if I was working for the prosecution, the defense would just destroy me because I have a very unique background. He has a very solid background as far as he went through all the hoops. He did everything the right way. He's been in the business forever, and he's got all the right contacts, and he's a professor and all that. He's got everything. Does it make him right? And the answer to that is not necessarily. And somebody said I don't know if it's true, that he's paid like $16,000 for his testimony. So, money sways. And I've often thought experts are bought. Now, how are they bought? Do they totally believe what they say, or are they giving a possibility? And this is where it gets really questionable. This is why I love this particular picture here. You see how he's put his hand to his chest? And what I want to tell you is, I'm telling you the truth. And it's a great little picture there. And it's one that he's trying to be believable to the jury, whether he's telling the truth or isn't. He's still trying to show that he is honest, and this is coming from his heart, right? But after you listen to the prosecution's the expert, and then you listen to the defense expert, holy crap. I mean, I listened to them both, and you know what I would need to do right now to absolutely, if I were going to do it, absolutely be 100% sure? I would have to gather up every shred of that information, and I would have to go sit someplace with all the crime scene photos and every single piece of evidence, and I would ruminate and study it for days and days. And this is what I do when I analyze a case. Sometimes, like when I go into the police department, I sit in those rooms for 10 hours a day for the whole week. I'm spending 50 hours in there. I'm not spending the little bit of time the jury gets to even think. I'm spending this time and I'm analyzing. Sometimes I lay in bed and I continue to analyze. And then I have questions in my head. I'm like, well, is that so? And so I go to my books. I might take a forensic pathology book, and I might study my blood spatter. I have blood spatter books, forensic pathology books, crime scene analysis books, of all these books. And although I've already studied them, I go back to them and I look at pictures and I study just to, okay, what does this mean? What are the different possibilities? And then I look at all the different expert opinions, because sometimes, like, if you get shot in a certain way, I had a case where the blood spatter pattern confused people. I had experts saying he was shot from the back, and I had experts saying he was shot this way. So, but based on the blood spatter pattern. So which expert was correct? And it took me a long time to study it myself to determine which one was correct. So how does this jury, knowing absolutely zip about any of this stuff, have all these two people give their information, which they took, by the way, if they're studying this crime scene, they didn't do it without the amount of study I just talked about. They probably spent hours and hours and hours studying this stuff before they came to a conclusion. And now we have a jury who knows nothing, trying to understand what these guys are saying, going, okay, I'm just going to go with him because he went. I will guarantee that might do it. Okay, so he gave this talk about how it had to be two people with two guns. All right. And so essentially, Alex Murdaugh was there. His voice is heard right there at the kennels, and he leaves. And right after he leaves, they get murdered. Where were the two murderers then? Where are these two people with the guns? Which, by the way, are guns that are just like his guns, because he has the guns that they believe shot the people were guns like the guns that they already owned. And as a matter of fact, had similarities. And when they shot stuff before, it was very similar. And let me tell you about people and guns. They like differences in guns, but they also sometimes like the same gun, so they buy more than one of something. So supposedly these two guys just happen to have similar guns, show up there as soon as he leaves. And I guess they're not wanting to kill Alex Murdaugh, who you would think, if anybody pissed anybody off, wouldn't it be Alex Murdaugh? I mean, he's the one that's a big fat criminal. I mean, his family is living off of criminal money, and just like cartel and mafia families, they look the other way because they like their fancy house and all that money they get to go shopping with, all the little perks. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for them. Sorry. I'm sorry. If you're living off of criminals' money, you're a criminal too. So I don't really feel that bad. But if I were somebody pissed off at that family, I'd be pissed off at Alex Murdaugh. So he was there. Why didn't they kill him? Why didn't they kill all three of them then? Why not him? Why just the wife and the son? And some people will say, well, it's to make him feel bad, make him sad. Okay, that's an interesting motive. Possible. Probable, no. And nobody saw anybody else there. There was no evidence of anybody else being there. And it's awful coincidental that he was there just before they got shot with guns that are like the guns they have. And there's a whole bunch of other evidence as well. But this guy, hand over heart, this guy says it had to be two guns. And I don't see any reason why it has to be two guns. And one of the things he's saying is that, and this is being pointed out quite often, that there's no defense. Well, actually, the prosecution said, well, they didn't put their hands up in defense, so they knew who was shooting at them. Well, first of all, I think that's kind of stupid, because I'm going to say, if somebody points a shotgun at me, I'm not going to do this, because I know that the shotgun shit is going to go right through and smash my face in. I'm going to run like hell. I'm going to hope if I run, he'll miss. And so if somebody's aiming at me, I'm going to try to turn, run, zigzag, but I'm not going to go, you do that with a knife attack because they're actually in front of you stabbing you, but it doesn't really work well with guns. And these are people who know guns. So if they see guns, they're running. Okay. And I see no reason why Alex Murdaugh couldn't have, he's there and he's got the two guns. First of all, two possibilities. One is he brought the guns with him on the golf cart and walked in with the guns. And the family knows he's got guns and probably don't even think a thing of it because they're used to seeing guns. The second possibility is he already put the guns there in that particular location. They were just waiting there. So he gets there, he talks to them a couple, and then he picks up the shotgun, and he shoots his kid. Boom, boom. And meanwhile, his wife, who's around the corner, there's enough time for him to set one of those guns down and pick up the rifle and go around after her. And at that point, my opinion, she should theoretically be running away. Sometimes you'll have a woman like that. You'll hear she'll actually run toward the son because she might think he's the one with a shotgun, and she's going to go see what he's doing. So she could have gone either direction. She ran toward because she's like, oh my God, what's going on over there with this? Why is he shooting at something? And then, oh my God, no, it's my husband with another gun. Oh, and then she tries to get away. I don't know. Or she heard it and ran. There's no reason why there has to be two different people. I don't have any good reason why that has to be true. Could it be true? Sure. I don't see a reason that is true. And so this guy, hand over heart, is a defense expert. And he's coming up with a scenario that there could be two people. I don't see that he was very convincing that it couldn't be one. That's my opinion. I don't know, in my opinion, that the jury is going to see that. I think it's much more likely they'll go, oh yeah, it had to be two. And my God, yes. So again, I think it's going to be a hung jury. Let me see what your comments are on that. So for a motive, mother was having a forensic accounting done. All righty. One gun is good, two guns are better. If he planned this crime out, which he would have had to have done, it wouldn't been a just like a momentary thing. Like the two gun thing is pretty smart, actually. It makes it look like two people. I think it's brilliant. Let's see. Yes, this is true. Time will tell, and you only need one juror. This is the big problem. You only need one juror. So when people say, oh, Pat, you're disrespecting the jury, there's a lot of smart people. Sure. And I'm not, the entire jury can be smart. There can be 12 intelligent people who do not have the training and the knowledge and the time to figure it out. So they still go, and some of them say, I don't feel comfortable finding him guilty because I can't, in my own ability, to analyze this to that point. And I respect that. When I say 12 people off a bus stop, I don't mean that like the dumb shits off a bus stop. I just mean that they're regular people without training. And then you could get lucky and have, wow, this is a smart group of people. And then you do have one dumbass, and that goes, oh, and he says, I'm going to do it. Or somebody has a political viewpoint or an emotional viewpoint and just doesn't want to convict. Because they don't want, I don't want to feel guilty. I want to sleep at night. I feel like if I find them guilty, I won't sleep at night. It's that simple. How you can spend all this time with this long court situation, and one person goes, and that's the end of it. Hung jury. That's why I'm not fond of it. So yeah. Yeah, and feels sorry for him too. This is true because, people think he made a mistake getting on the stand. He did not. The defense thought this through very carefully. He had to admit to being there because of the video, and there was no way to get around that. So they decided, okay, they work with him to come up with the best explanation and sad sob story they can come up with to convince the jury. One of the really frustrating things for me with the defense, which I think is so wrong in our whole system, is the defense actually creates lies and scenarios for their client. Not saying just go up there and tell the truth. They are working with him to find a way to confuse and mislead the jury. That to me is not justice. And people say, oh, well, that's the best money. No, that's getting a good defense. A good defense should be defending the evidence. A good defense shouldn't be being slick crooks themselves and coming up with lies to screw over the jury. That to me is not what I call a good defense. I call that a really bad system. I have problems with that. And that's why I don't do very little defense work, because they want me to create scenarios to get their client off. They don't care whether he's guilty or not. And they don't care about just presenting the facts. They care about pulling the wool over on the jury. That's it. That's their whole thing. which I find disgusting. And I think people should be disbarred. I personally think if I wish we had a way where you could like video everything that happened. And I know this will never happen, but I just love to have this thought that when they talk to their client, it's always the videotaped and then it's reviewed. And if they tell their client to lie, or the client says they did it, and they say, well, we'll go ahead and we'll come up with a story for you, they should be disbarred right there. But that's something that's never going to happen. That's just, not in this world. Oh my God. Oh, yeah, oh, Lord. A 500-page instruction. Jury trials are so ungodly boring. I don't know how anybody sits through those horrifying things. Just days and days of torture, and instructions that are just so excessive. And after a while, I don't even know the jury cares sometimes. After a while, they're like, whatever, and on top of that, they're taken away from their families. They're taken away from their jobs. And they're not paid anything. It's just miserable freaking work for the jury. So I feel sorry for everybody in this whole system. I really do. Anyway, okay. So that's my thoughts on the Murdaugh thing, because I just thought that was interesting, because when the expert came out, and I think he's qualified. Stop saying that, folks. He's not qualified. He's super qualified. But I don't know whether he's whether he's saying what he really believes, or what he's saying what the defense wants him to say. I don't know, but for $16,000, I don't know. Some people can be not necessarily bought, but encouraged. Lord, of course, these are people that don't even need the money. It's always amazing to me. I forever, I've never understood that, because a lot of times when these experts seemingly do it for the money, I'm looking at their lives going, you don't need money. You have such a high reputation. You do so much work anyway. But there's huge money in defense. There's not much in prosecution. And the other thing I want to point out is a lot of people say, well, the prosecutor wasn't so good and the defense attorney's great. Well, yeah, if you can afford the top defense attorney in the country and the state can only get the prosecutor that they already got, that prosecutor's up against, he's like David against Goliath. And so they're like, well, that prosecutor and that defense attorney, he was so great. Well, yeah. You know how much money that defense attorney makes compared to the prosecutor? Some prosecutors are crap. It's true. And some prosecutors are, some of them I don't like. But I understand that they also don't have, the state only has to go, they got it, the prosecutor they've got. And the defense, if that poor schmuck is a little poor fella, he's going to get, he's going to get your little crappy public defender and he'll go down. But if he's got money, yes, the best defense money can buy. But that's okay with folks. Yeah. Again, why I think a professional jury system might be a better choice, because I'm not going to be fooled by slick defense attorney. So the entire case would condense into a very short period of time, because they don't have to put the dog and pony show out with professionals behind there. So, but we have all kinds of arguments over whether they can be bribed and whether they're going to, be politically appointed and all that stuff. So that's a huge. And one day I'm going to really put a whole video out and do a great long research study on that whole concept and see how realistic it is to be able to do it, and to get rid of the civilian jury system and still have. Well, not still have a way better justice system. Well, we'll have to see. If you're an attorney in Idaho, you can make $300 an hour with lots of overtime really? Wow. That's pretty good for a public defender. Dang. Oh, Lord. That's amazing. Well, there's a political viewpoint. Laws are made to control the poor, not the rich. Well, I think the laws are the same for both, but some people can get around them. Yeah, that's the way that is. All right. I want to talk about, which one do I want to talk about? I think I want to talk about, I just did this story on my last video was on Brian Schaefer, who went into a bar in Ohio, was never seen leaving, and disappeared and has never been seen again. medical student. And a lot of questions happen when people just disappear. And I thought this case was super interesting. Not enough for me to do a whole show on, but I thought a really interesting case to point out a few things. This is the woman. Her name is, was 26 years old, and her name is Kirsten Bruggeman. She's been missing, Bruggeman. Okay. She's been missing since 2021. So it's just been 2 years. Bizarre CCTV glitch deepens mystery of young woman who vanished after fight with friends. And here's where it gets interesting, because, you know, when I was looking at the Brian Schaefer case, the last person that he did have a fight with, which was one of his friends, had lawyered up and wouldn't take a polygraph. And so there is suspicion his direction. But check out this case. This is really interesting. I'll comment on it as I go through it. Kirsten Bruggeman lived with her parents in Indianapolis, Indiana. She was an animal lover, a bookworm, graduated high school with honors, talkative, stubborn, sweet, and a wicked sense of humor. All right. She had a 10-year on-again, off-again relationship with her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend, Eddie. They broke up for good in January 2020. Now, see, when she went missing was 2020. When did she go missing? 2021. Okay. So they broke up in January 2020, but remained friends, getting together at least once a week to hang out. So now, after they broke up in January 2020, she went missing in January of 2021, just to get that straight. On January 2nd, 2021, Lisa dropped Kirsten off for a shift at a pizza restaurant. Since she didn't have a car of her own, her parents always picked her up and dropped her off. She clocked out at 10 p.m., texted her mom to let her know she didn't need a ride home because she was going to meet up with friends. And we have a lot of cases where people go to meet up with friends, and that's the last they ever heard of, right? So at 12:35, she never came home, though. She went to meet friends, never came home. 12:35 a.m., Lisa texted Kirsten to ask if she was okay, but didn't receive a response, went straight to voicemail. By 8 a.m., she still didn't come home. At 3 p.m., they contacted the pizza place, and she found that she didn't show up for a shift, which was unusual because she was punctual and didn't usually miss a day of work. Now they contacted Eddie. Now this is the ex-boyfriend of 10 years, and asked him if he knew where Kirsten was. He said he received a text from Kirsten around 10 to 10:30 p.m. the night before, asking to hang out. Since Eddie already had plans, he invited Kirsten along. She took an Uber to Manly's Irish Mutt, a bar where she met up with Eddie and 3 of his friends, 1 male and 2 female. Now I can see her sitting here right now going, she's going to go hang out with the friends. There's the ex-boyfriend's there. And she did hook up with him, right? At this place called the Irish Mutt. According to Eddie, Kirsten drank too much. And then we say again, what's up with Eddie? Is he, making her look bad? Then he said she was kicked out of the bar at midnight. She got sick. She drank too much, got sick, and was kicked out of the bar at midnight. Since it was 12:15 a.m. anyway, the entire group decided to leave. Once in the parking lot, Kirsten and Eddie got into a verbal altercation. It's unclear what the argument was about. So this is very similar to the Brian Schaefer thing, in the sense that the last thing we know of is drunk person got in an altercation with somebody they knew real well before they disappeared. Eddie said he tried to call an Uber for Kirsten and even offered to call her parents, but she refused. And we go, sure, dude. Sure. At some point, Kirsten got mad and started to vandalize a car belonging to one of his friends. Upset, they all got into the car and drove off, leaving Kirsten in the parking lot. So now you're like, are the friends in on this too? They did something to her. They saw her vandalizing her, so they beat the crap out of her, killed her, and then drove off with her and dumped her someplace. Okay. Eddie and his friends drove to the All-Star Bowl, a nearby bowling alley, only to find it was closed, at which point everybody parted ways. And again, you can say, really? Did they really go to the bowling alley? Because it was closed. Is that just an excuse? After speaking with Eddie, Lisa and Rex reported her missing. Now, here's where it gets interesting. CCTV confirmed Eddie's story. He was ruled out of any involvement in her disappearance, along with all three of his friends. And you say, really? Really? Okay, listen to this. This is fascinating. CCTV captured Kirsten walking toward the All-Star Bowl at 12:20. Her phone pinged in the area at 12:30, at which point it died or was turned off. Kirsten was next seen at 1:58 on CCTV from a YMCA, although an hour and a half had passed and she'd only walked a few minutes. Kirsten drunkenly stumbled across the YMCA parking lot toward Abby Meadows' apartment, known for housing multiple sex offenders. Unfortunately, it was impossible to know whether Kirsten was headed toward the apartment complex or in another direction because suddenly the camera skipped to 2:30 a.m. This is just unbelievable. And she was no longer in the frame. So just Kirsten was there 1 second, gone the next. Investigators called it a disappointing glitch, but many believe the half-hour portion of the footage was deleted, perhaps by someone involved in Kirsten's disappearance, who would have to know that one video camera was looking at her. But there's pictures here while her walking, and she's by herself. Nobody's around her. She reportedly did not know anyone who lived in Abbey Meadows, which is the opposite direction of her home. It's possible she was disoriented and got lost. The Bruggemans noted, and here we get the interesting thing, that Kirsten had a drinking problem but refused to get help. So clearly she had before drank a lot and drank to excess to the point of not being in control of herself, which during this evening, because of her drinking, she got thrown out of a bar. She had a fight with her ex-boyfriend. She smashed up her friend's car, and they left her because she was just too out of control. They tried to get her an Uber. They tried to call her parents, and she was not cooperating, and they finally gave up. Now, my opinion would be nice if they had found some way to get somebody there to make sure she was safe, but they did not, which is, I think, unfortunate. Might be worth calling the police, in my opinion. If she attacked the car, I would call the police, have the police come and say, look, she's out of control. She can't take her into custody. That's what I would have done. They didn't. So it's unfortunate. So 2 years later, they have not found her body. So obviously she was killed that night. There's no way she's missing. She was killed, and she was running drunk, which is very, very vulnerable. By herself, extremely vulnerable at night near a place with sex offenders. I mean, could it get any worse? So this is an interesting situation where, thank God for the CCTV, her ex-boyfriend and her friends didn't go down as possibly doing something to her, when luckily the CCTV showed that they were not near her and she went off on her own, and so they're not guilty. But see, until you get to that point where the CCTV actually picks up where she is, I bet everybody's here thinking those friends did something to her, because it looks that way until you find out there's more information. And this is where sometimes cases get very sticky for investigators as well, because if they don't have certain pieces of information, they're going to look this way and they can't help it. But if they get more information, they go, oh, never mind. And they look this way. So I have some understanding that that's what happens when you're trying to analyze crime sometimes. It all depends, what information is really there for you to figure out. Oh, that's terrible, Michaela. If you go missing in Indiana, they're looking for a body. Yeah. Well, and no, it's not a booty call. I don't think she knew where she was. It's very, very sad. At this point, I don't think she had a clue where she was at. I think it's very, very possible, since she was in an area where there are sex offenders. Now, I don't know what they did in the investigation to find out where the sex offenders were, but a whole little group of sex offenders. How lovely. So, yeah. But I think that's a good term, hot mess. Some people are the nicest people there, but they're a hot mess. And when you're dealing with them, they get, because they sometimes don't do well when they drink excessively or whatever their issues are, they can get violent. They can get very difficult to handle. They can be very, very impulsive. They can get very angry at you. They can misconstrue things, and they're a hot mess. And that's a great term, actually, because it's hard to deal with a hot mess. And so sometimes hot messes end up in terrible situations because of their own emotions, personality, and maybe some kind of substance abuse problem. And you can be the nicest person in the world, but if you put those things all together and turn into a hot mess, you can be easily victimized, and you can victimize others as well, but you can easily become a victim because you make obviously terrible, terrible choices. And she made a whole pile of terrible choices that night. She drank too much, which was a terrible choice. She fought with her friends, which was a terrible choice. She messed up their car, which was a terrible choice. She refused help, which was a terrible choice. And then she ended up by herself. And all those terrible choices end up you're an easy victim then. You know, it's very, very, unsafe situation that it's really sad, because if she just had not lost control to that extent, she could be like 2 years later perfectly fine. You know what I mean? Having a great life and she might be the nicest person ever, and she could be having a wonderful life, and everything's changed for her, and she's got this great job now, and she's going back to school. She got married, she had kids, you know what I mean? And it's so sad to see this kind of thing that when you turn into a hot mess, things escalate and they go downhill, like that. Oish. Oh, that's interesting. I had a friend that would pick fights with random people. Yeah, sometimes people just, especially when they drink, sometimes it brings out things in them that is just not the best, and for whatever reasons they're not different than they are, but it kind of becomes an excessive version of what they might have some issues with. Loretta says, I had to babysit my drunken best friend many times. It's very exhausting, but I would not have just driven off and left her like they did. Yeah. I think that's pretty not okay. And maybe they couldn't control it, but I said, I would have at that point, she wouldn't take an Uber and she wouldn't let me call her parents to pick her up, and she was beating us up or beating our cars up, I would call the police. I would say, we have a woman here who's out of control and she's damaging vehicles. I would call the police on her. And that might have been the best thing they could have done, to get her into custody that evening so she would be safe. And maybe that would be a wake-up call for her. But, they're also young people, and sometimes young people don't make the smartest decisions. They're just like, well, screw it, and we're gone, you're going to behave like that. And I bet they feel guilty as hell now. Probably, Yeah. So very sad. Oh, this is so true. Stephanie says, if you go online and look at how many sex offenders are in your area, it's scary. And that's just the registered ones. It doesn't matter how nice your neighborhood is either. They're everywhere. And that's true. Now, some of them, mind you, are, it's more of a weird, age consent issue, so they're registered as sex offenders, but they're not all that, But on the other hand, there's a lot of creepy dudes out there, and that's why it doesn't matter how nice a neighborhood you're in. Here's what I have to really warn people about, because this was an interesting experience I had when I was a sign language interpreter in a high school. And high school, the area I was in, the houses were huge. I mean, big houses, man. And then there were these kids at the school. I'm like, dang, they don't match the houses. I'm like looking at these houses that whoever lived in them had to have good work, good education. And then these kids are in there, and I'm thinking, these kids are from some ghettos or slums someplace. What the heck? And it turned out that what would happen sometimes was that the mother had a child when she was young, and she lived in a poor neighborhood. Then her mom helped raise the kid. Then she went to school, whatever. She joined the government. She got to be a GS, whatever, 12, 14. She met another guy in the government who was also high up in the government. And between their salaries, which was quite good, they then moved to the suburbs and bought this lovely home. And they were honest, hardworking people. But the child continued to be raised in that neighborhood, which wasn't so great, a fairly poor neighborhood, hot crime ridden. Then they bring teenage kid to the suburbs. And he's not really from the suburbs, and he's not from a safe neighborhood. And it was so weird to see that. And so a lot of times people you can have a family that they love, lovely family, but then cousin buddy comes to live with them. You know what I mean? And the cousin has an issue, or the brother has an issue, or somebody just got out of jail and needed a place to stay, and the family doesn't want to turn him down, or he's been homeless and the family doesn't want to turn him down. Well, it's all kinds of reasons. But you can have a family that they themselves have a very non-criminal family, but they allow somebody to come and stay with them to help them. And then that little criminal cousin, creepy dude, then rapes the woman next door. And that can happen. And so, yeah, just because your neighborhood looks good doesn't mean there aren't some creepy people in it. And of course, if your neighborhood doesn't look as good and is poor, then you might have even a higher chance of, people who are more criminally minded. But yeah, but it's never 100%. So you always have to be a little bit aware. Yeah. Well, that's another issue. DV, domestic violence, is an issue everywhere. The problem is in rich neighborhoods that get underreported. That is also true. Yeah, because in a weird sense, sometimes when people finally get that really nice house and they have what they consider a good life, they don't want to lose that life. So a lot of domestic violence goes on because people don't want to lose what they have, and they don't want to end up in a shabby apartment when they're living in a lovely house. So that's also underreported for that. Or they don't want to lose their job, or they don't want their domestic abuser to lose his or her job, so that they then lose their home and their kid. Oh, it's a mess. It's a bloody mess. I mean, yeah, that's a point. Maybe she cried wolf one too many times. True, but I mean, that may be true, but she was still in a state which was unsafe. I mean, I sometimes think people put themselves in their own positions. They make trouble for themselves, and she may be one of those. But she was in an unsafe situation. And I think, especially the ex-boyfriend, if he's going to be her friend at all, he should call the police. If she wasn't going to cooperate with him or anybody else, he should have called the police. And that's what I think. But again, these are young people, and a lot of times they don't think really clearly in that sense. It's something, I'm gonna call the police on her. She'll be okay. And, so there, and speaking of people with issues, I want to talk about this case in the UK. They just, there's such a strange case. There is this couple, and this is just a bizarre case. This is a couple. Okay, let me find the story. Her name is Constance Marten. She's an heiress. She ran away with the guy on the right, who is a rapist. I mean, and you're like, I'm looking at this going, wait a minute, you're an heiress who's had a lot of money, and you hook up with this guy who's a rapist. And then I'm like, what's the backstory on this one? Well, the police were searching for them, and here's the story of it. So she had been running for weeks on end in the sex event. He's 13 years older than her. Okay, and let's see. His name is Mark Gordon. Her name is Constance Marten. Now, so they had a car crash. She had been hiding. Let me give you a little bit more about her background, because she was extremely well educated. Her father was a page to Elizabeth II. They were massively rich. I mean, massively rich. And but she began to have an estrangement from her family. Okay. And let me look for her background here, because I think her background, I'm not going to read you the whole thing. I'll link it below, because it's a heck of a story. But her father apparently had some interesting mental things. I'm not going to say he's mentally off, but he certainly had a turn of his mind had changed on things. When she was 9, her father described as an awakening he had. He told her how a voice in his head, which you're always concerned about voices in your head. So does he suffer from some level of schizophrenia or something like that? A voice in his head had told him to discard his 115 million pound family home, which is one hell of a house, let me tell you, shave his head and fly to Australia. So he did that. He shaved his head, had an out-of-body experience while standing on a cliff top with a group of Aboriginal Australians. You shouldn't laugh, but I mean, it's a little nutty, shall we say. Everything in my life materially was completely an empty shell. All right. So he got to this point where no matter what, he felt his life was all material stuff, and he didn't have a spiritual bent. That's not necessarily wrong. So then he ended up living in a lorry and trained in head massage. Although he returned to the UK, later working as a tree surgeon. He then, in 2013, he sold the house and the 400 acres surrounding it to Richard Chilton, an American hedge fund billionaire, and he sold it for 34 million pounds. And let's see, then, and she was growing up. Now, when she grew up, she grew up at this fancy house. She said her life was full of naked picnics. I don't know what that means. Siestas amid on hay bales and tractor scoops. I don't know what that means either. All right. She was known as Toots. She studied Arabic and Middle Eastern studies at the University of Leeds, and starting in 2008. As a student, she was considered, she was a very good student. And then during a year abroad that was mandated by the university, in 2012, she went to Egypt. She went to Cairo, and she was there in Tahrir Square when the Arab Spring happened. And it's I understand what she felt, because I actually was in Egypt for the entire month, and I was staying at a hotel that was on Tahrir Square, and I was doing research for my book, The Murder of Cleopatra. And right before I left, which was 2 days before Arab Spring, I was walking across Tahrir Square eating my ice cream. Then I left the country, and I flew back, and next day I was at CNN. I was in the green room, and up on the screen came, whatever in Tahrir Square. And I went, oh my God, I was just there like yesterday. Really freaky. Luckily I got out just before it all started, so that I could get out. But she was there for that. So she, was very involved in this thing, not in the happening, but just being in that atmosphere. She then became a researcher at the London office of Al Jazeera, the Qatar-owned English language news channel. And then she worked as a project manager at the Rich Mix Theater, and then as a freelance photographer. And she got lots of photography awards, including one picture she took in Tahrir Square. In 2014, she professionally qualified as a journalist and spent her day interning at the Daily Mail. Yeah, that might be concerning. Anyway, apparently supported by a trust fund, she then enrolled in an acting course. People said she was beautiful, full of life and kindness, very talented. But then in 2016, she dropped out of the course. She changed and had an erratic relationship with a man the course mate never met. Who was the man? It seemed to be this Mark Gordon. Okay, 13 years as her senior, Gordon was born in Birmingham, moving with his mother and half-siblings to Florida when he was young. In 1990, when he was 15, he was found guilty of kidnap and sexual battery, and he spent 20 years in jail. Now, before you think, because his sister says he didn't do it, he apparently broke into the woman's house, took one of her stockings, put it over her head, and then he raped her for like 4 hours at 15 years old. I'm going to say he's probably guilty. So anyway, then he was deported back to England in 2010. Then she met up with this guy. Now, I couldn't figure out whether she knew he had been a rapist or whether she just had no clue. But one of her friends said that she had a problem that when she met somebody, she'd fall like really madly in love with them and just didn't care about anything. So she was very emotionally driven as opposed to logic driven. And so maybe she met this guy and just didn't pay any attention to anything. But she also, apparently, her father says she spent 6 months in Nigeria in Lagos and involved in this creepy kind of church with this cult-like leader. And he thought that experience changed her. So the reason I'm bringing all of this up is that when a person becomes emotionally fragile, and maybe during her life, things seem to go upside down. She was extremely wealthy, but at the same hand, she was having the same problem as her father. I think she was searching for meaning in life. And a lot of us do that. So I don't think that's a terrible thing. But her father did some pretty weird crap. And at what point did she also have some kind of issue that she just emotionally was messed up, essentially? So anyway, she then hooked up with him. And she just kind of vanished from it. Just didn't hang out with her family anymore. She disappeared from them, out of their lives. And apparently they were living in a home in Ilford, and they were evicted. I don't know why she had no money now and he didn't have any money. So anyway, they're running about. They weren't paying rent. They messed up a house they lived in with smoke damage and a collapsed ceiling. Then they started. Now what happened here is they were driving this car, and apparently the car crashed and burned up. And when the police went out there, they found a placenta in the back seat. So they knew she'd had a baby in the back seat, and it was cold outside because it was winter, and she's now running about with this baby. And they had pictures of her. Now, see, there she is with the boyfriend, and they do have a pram there, and the baby theoretically is in it. And then they chucked the pram, and they got on. I guess they got on some ferry, but she's still seen she is seen with the baby. So she had the baby at that point. But they were all looking for her, and they were hiding from cameras, paying in cash, booking hotels under pseudonyms. And it was weird because the question is, why were they doing all this? So the police started looking for them, and theoretically, the reason they were looking is because they knew they had this baby, and they were like running around with this little infant, and the police are basically saying, we need you to come in. The family says, we need you to come in to see a doctor, make sure the baby's okay, and make sure that you have a safe place to stay, that the baby can keep warm. And she didn't do it. This is really interesting. I'm curious to ever hear what the story is here, because on one hand, the government has no, when people say, well, she should have gone to see a doctor, that's a personal opinion. If your baby's healthy, and okay, this is my personal opinion. If your baby is healthy, I don't believe that the government can require you to take the baby to a doctor. I mean, for years across the world, people have babies in fields and went back home and then cooked dinner, and nursed their baby, and that was that. But we've gotten into this concept that when you have a baby, you have to take the baby in to a doctor, and the doctor has to examine it every so often, or you're somehow a bad parent. And I think as long as the baby was born and was breathing and healthy and nursing and whatever, they didn't have to, I don't think by law, my opinion, but I don't know what the law is in the UK, but I don't think the government has the right to tell them they must present the baby to the health authorities, but they may have laws like that. I don't know, you guys in the UK. But in the US, they can get pretty vicious about that too. And I personally have had experience with that. Having had an unattended home birth for my second child, and it's not taken well in the United States because I think something's fishy about you or something, and they think a doctor must be present, and you must. After I had the baby, I registered him and all that, but they can get snarky about these things. But by law, there's no absolute law for that. I don't know what's in the UK. So anyway, they started searching for them, and they started hiding and all that stuff. And the family is saying, please come in, please come in. But they hadn't committed a crime at that point. As far as I can see, there was no crime. Now, it would have been wise for them to come in regardless, because why not? I mean, if you haven't committed a crime, just come in, let the doctor see the baby, say it's okay. And if somebody, if you need a little help to make sure the baby's in you have a place to stay, fine. But I don't know, was she on the run with this Mr. Creepy dude? Because he's a rapist. And, a rapist is a psychopath. And she's hanging out with a psychopath. And that's scary, in my opinion. If I were her mother, I'd be scared. If I knew who that guy was, I'd say something's wrong with my daughter. She had a good life. She suddenly dumped her family and is running around with a guy who's a psychopath, a violent psychopath. That's not safe. I would be scared for her and the baby. So I understand the family's concerns. I think she should have simply appeared, but she didn't. So they kept going on the run with the baby in the cold weather. And then the police finally found them, but no baby. And now they found the body of the baby. That news just came out that they found the body of the baby. Let's see. They had a 54-day hunt for the runaway couple, which is interesting because I don't know what the legal aspects on that were for the hunt, except that they believed the baby was in danger at that point. So I think that was it, because the baby was born in the backseat of a car and they had no place to live. They were considering the baby was in the baby was in danger. So I think that's what the concept was there. And they were correct. Obviously, the baby's dead, so they weren't wrong. But the thing that I find just so interesting about it is, what the heck? What takes a person down a path like that? When you're a person has in a sense, all the opportunities in the world, yet for some reason, it's not enough. There's some level of dissatisfaction, and then you would go off with creepy dude. It's sad because, my God, I mean, and it's one of those things. It's one of these, you could go through all the psychology of it all, but this is sometimes very unfortunate that a person who does need help seeks help in all the wrong places. And probably the church she went to, and I don't know what she was doing in Nigeria to begin with, but she obviously is seeking out a place that gave her some kind of sense of peace and belonging, which her dad did the same thing. So I don't know if there's some kind of psychological problem running in the family, but sadly, they didn't find the baby in time. So the baby's dead. And of course, they're in custody and they've been charged with manslaughter because essentially they did get the baby killed. So that's very creepy. Having a nut, being with a nut and running around with a baby in a car, not a sensible thing to do, shall we say. I mean, and they were I think they were living in the car and all that kind of things. And, but yeah. Oh, yeah, that is sad. Stephanie says, dang, I haven't seen about the baby. Yeah, because this has been going on for 54 days. I've been searching for them. I really hope they've given it to somebody. No, and you wonder why, why you would not seek a safer situation for your child, except you're already such a mess that, let's say, how rational she was at that point is a good question. I wonder whether there's some serious problem there, because she had talent. The woman obviously was smart, talented, and rich. Wouldn't we love to be that? I mean, and she had some exciting things, which and I've always pointed this out to people, and I point it out to my granddaughter all the time. This is just my little advice column here, but life can be full of exciting things that don't have to be screwy, creepy, dangerous in that sense. I did spend a month in Egypt myself working on my book, and it was fascinating. I got to go. I was in Cairo. I met with professors at the university. I went out to an archaeological site where they believe Cleopatra was buried. Met the archaeologists, and that was awesome. I went. My daughter then joined me for 10 days, and we went to Upper Egypt, and we went to all the different, architectural areas, and it was, all the archaeological areas. It was lovely. I worked on my book, and got to experience Egypt, but I wasn't hooked up with crazy people. You know what I mean? And so I was able to have an exciting and interesting time. And I've traveled a lot in my life with good people and by myself sometimes. I'm not saying everything is 100% safe, but I avoided most of my life people that would mess me up. I didn't go overseas and do drugs. I didn't hook up with really creepy people most of the time. But, I see people who start getting into all these different things, throwing away good opportunities to do things that aren't going to be in the long run a very positive thing, but they have a yearning in their heart to belong to something so much that they'll belong to anybody, even if they're dangerous and whatever they are. They'll belong to any group that might be dangerous. And it's just sad. So I always encourage people, if nothing else, find a safe thing to be involved in, safe people, safe organizations. Don't go that extra, jumping off the cliff type of thing. It's kind of sad. Really sad. Yeah. Well, loose screws is a good term. Loose screws, hot mess, loose screws. I think we've got all the proper terminology. And sometimes I think we use fancy words and psychological words when really, quite frankly, those words actually are clearer than the psychological words. So I like that one. Loose screws. Mood disorder. Again, I don't know. something definitely seemed amiss there. And I don't know what it is. That's a fancy one. Affective dependence. Interesting term. I'm going to look that one up. I like the sound of it. I don't know if that's one of the newer terminologies, but yeah, I kind of see, I'll have to look it up. I kind of see, okay, I'm going to look it up now just so, because everybody else is here. So let me look it up and we'll all find out what it actually means. But I mean, it's interesting how things can turn into disastrous situations where people become victims or they victimize. Okay, here we go. Affective dependence, characterized by emotional distress, insecure attachment, and dependency to another person with low self-esteem and reassurance need. Okay, that's yeah. Whether she needed to be, she had. It's always hard to imagine why somebody who's attractive, smart, rich, talented would have low self-esteem. I'm always blown away by that. I've never quite understood it. I mean, obviously it's there. I just find it amazing. I mean, I guess I've always felt like, I don't know, for myself, I've never had low self-esteem, but I've never considered myself brilliant or great or anything better than anybody else too. I just like to do things. And if I get to do them and I have some success at them, I don't have to be the top success, but I'm just, that's interesting. I had an opportunity in life, and I'm always happy to have an opportunity because, of any sort. And it can be small stuff and it can be big stuff, but I guess I never felt like, I don't know. It's just not something I ever dealt with. I'm willing to accept reality. I'm good at some stuff. I suck at some stuff. Different points in my life. I've had luck. I've had bad luck. Good luck, bad luck. Things happen, and I just figure that's life. It's just an adventure of ups and downs, and I just have to keep working to do the best I can. But I guess that's not the way a lot of people think, and they take things to heart, like, oh, I'm a failure because this didn't go well, or because this person doesn't love me. It's because something's wrong with me. Maybe not because you're hooked up with a rapist. Maybe the rapist showed her more love than anybody else because she was with him a long damn time. So either he was very controlling, but who knows? Maybe he showed her something that she felt she needed desperately enough to run all over the place hiding from her family. I don't know. It's just one of those things I don't know that we'll ever understand entirely. We can psychoanalyze everything, but we'll never always know. She could have given the baby away if she didn't want it. We don't know that she didn't want the baby. She kept the baby with her. They got a pram for it. She was pushing it around. I just don't know that she's so out to lunch that she was making bad choices that eventually the baby didn't survive, or maybe he killed it. I don't know. Maybe she killed it. Who knows? I mean, we haven't all heard. They just found the baby's body. So whether the child died of natural causes or whether the child died of could have been it could have gotten, it was cold, so maybe that's why it died. Exposure. Maybe it didn't feed well. Don't know. I have no idea what happened to it, or maybe it was beaten to death. And that's, I think the autopsy will maybe enlighten a little bit more, but obviously it wasn't safe for the child. And, if you care about the child, you should get it to safety, regardless of whatever that safety needs to be. But yeah, don't know. That might be concerned. No cults. You don't want cults. I want independent thinkers that say, I enjoy Pat Brown's videos. I think she's teaching us good things, but she's just a normal human being and maybe a little scary. But I just thought that was just an interest. It just came out today, and I was looking at how did she end up where she ended up, and how did this baby end up in this situation? And why did she end up hooked up with a guy who was a rapist? And even if I don't know, I wonder how much she knew. Did she just run into him? And again, do you just believe what somebody tells you about their background? She may have no idea he was in prison for 20 years. But if he said I was in prison for 20 years because I was accused of rape, but I didn't actually do it, they all start. I didn't. His sister says he didn't do it. So I don't know. So, I like this one. As a former hot mess with a lot of screws loose, the only people who wanted to spend time with me were sketchy. Oh, that's interesting. Options are limited. That actually is, there's truth to that. That is super excellent point. And it's funny because people will say like, he got hooked up with bad people, or he got into the wrong crowd. Well, the reason the person's in the wrong crowd is because the wrong crowd will be with them. So there's a great truth to that. And it's like, if you want a certain person in your life, or you want certain work, or you want certain kind of friends, you have to ask yourself, what do they want in you? So it's like you go for a job interview, and it's a company that would like a person who presents themselves well and speaks well, has good command of the English language, and you walk in and you look like a piece of crap, and you speak garbagey, and you go, I don't know why they don't want to hang around me. So then you find you're going to get your job at a place that's kind of sleazy. That's why you may end up there. Well, I couldn't get a job with the banking organization, so I ended up as a stripper. Because maybe the strip club was the only place that was willing to have you be around. So that's very true. So that's one of the unfortunate things that, when we ourselves are having issues, and we all have issues in our lives. I mean, I look back at my life when I was younger, I'm thinking, and then there are times when my older self would like to go back and slap my younger self in the face and say, that was really stupid. What were you thinking? What were you acting that way? Why didn't you finish college when you went to college to begin with? You put yourselves in bad situations because that's who would hang around you. I love it. That's actually very, very, very smart. I think I might not be capable, Michaela. I have my limits. I totally have my limits. I can't do that. Okay, so I'm looking at that. Okay, so to end the show, I'm going to do two. Tell me, just do two Dear Abbeys, just because these ones made me laugh, because I like to be laughing at some of the Dear Abby stuff. So this one, this is a Dear Annie. Okay, Dear Annie, so. Dear Annie, over the years, I've reconnected with a high school friend who I've known since grammar school. Hold on a second, it's flipping here. Each connection throughout the years has been different until this last one, with this instant spark that truly synchronized us on so many levels. I think she's imagining this crap, including talks about the near and far future, as well as expressing our feelings for one another, until I was ghosted. He cut off contact and has ignored me completely with no explanation. I know this tactic has become widely used, but my confusion comes from not knowing what triggered it. Probably because you're not paying attention to what the heck are you even doing with this guy online anyway. We hadn't a single disagreement or argument. In fact, that last day we talked, he was receiving a shipment on my behalf that he has also since been unresponsive regarding outside of the scope of our relationship. And I really don't know how to read this. Receiving a shipment on my behalf. I love this terminology. Okay, ghosting is fine. Not being interested in me is fine. But how about common courtesy to return what does not belong to him? Excuse me, but you sent the crap to him. It now belongs to him. That's simple. Okay. Or if he received a shipment on her behalf, what does that mean? That he was supposed to get it and then he was supposed to bring it to you, even though it sounds like you never even see each other? Okay, especially since he's displayed all signs he's not interested in me. I've come to accept that, and I can bow out gracefully, but shouldn't I get my stuff, whatever I sent him, back? Now, here's the answer. Dear stranger, you're absolutely right. It's not a crime for the man to have lost romantic feelings for you, which he probably never actually had. However, he has no right to keep what doesn't belong to him. Excuse me, Annie, it does belong to him. She sent it to him. It now belongs to him. Tough luck. Tough luck. Don't send shit to people you don't know well enough to trust. Take a loss. You send it to them. It's over. It's not yours. So then she says, get this one. Oh my God. I don't know what Annie's problem is here. Then she says, if it continues blowing you off, consider how far you're willing to go for the shipment. Depending on what it is, you might be better off cutting your losses. No kidding. If not, you can reach out to your local police department and inquire about what kind of recourse you have. You know what the police department's going to say? Did you send it to him? Yes. Then it's his. It's his. That just makes me laugh. Yeah, it's called a gift. Tough luck. You know, you learn sometimes in life, you learn a lesson. That's your lesson, lady. First of all, I think you were delusional in what relationship you thought you had. He was playing you. I don't know whether he conned you into sending him something, but guess what? It's his. That one just amused me. I'm like, oh, okay. So this is the other one, then that'll be it for tonight. This is Amy. How can I stop powerful dreams about an ex who ghosted me more than 10 years ago? People are having trouble with being ghosted. But anyway, many years ago when I was in my 20s, I dated a guy and fell in love. He broke up with me abruptly, and I was extremely brokenhearted. Because of the abruptness of the breakup, how happy I was when I was with him, and some hints he made afterwards about regretting his decisions. For years, I felt like we had unfinished business. I never understood what happened. Now, he dumped you. That's what happened. Okay. However, the rational part of my brain told me that actions speak louder than words. Very, very smart. He broke up with me, and he never made any real attempt to initiate a reconciliation. Good. It wasn't meant to be. Okay, so she's doing okay. She's thinking clearly. We moved to different cities. I eventually met and fell in love with my now husband. Oh, that's wonderful. You know, some people don't get to love twice in a lifetime. You did. And for over a decade, my ex has not been in my life at all. No texting, no following up on social media, no mutual friends, nothing. Good. He's gone. He's out of your life. He's not meant to be in your life. You've got a wonderful husband you do love. All right, now what's her problem? My problem. Every 6 months or so, he appears in my dreams. There are usually powerful feelings of love and longing in these dreams. And I wake up feeling sad and wistful. Now, I just want to say something here. I'm a very big dreamer. I'm a lucid dreamer. I do a dream like crazy. I go in and out of dreams half the night. I wake up and go back into dreams. And I know the feeling of, I've had that where I've met somebody in my dream and, oh my God, you know, and you wake up going, oh, I really, you don't even know who the hell it was. But you feel almost, it's real strong emotions. It's really a weird thing. I don't know what your brain does, but so she's waking up feeling, oh my God, you know, that's him. I was with him. All right. So let's see. So she has this longing after she has this dream about him. I love my husband and have a pretty great life, so I don't understand why this person haunts me. Does this happen to other people? Surely at this point, the dreams and the feelings are not really about the guy, right? How can I get rid of him for good? Okay, well, I'm going to say this. It's only once every 6 months, so that ain't bad anyway. People have dreams about people in their lives, and it's a dream, whatever. Accept it, enjoy it, whatever, and let it go. But this is not what Annie, who is this one? Amy. I thought it was terrible advice. All right, she says, the rational side of your brain understands these long ago events. True. But now your subconscious is trying to tell you something. No, it's not. It's just something that happens sometimes. Maybe it's because you've been married 10 years, you know, getting a little bored, and now you're thinking about, you know, that's stuff. People do that. It's not a big deal. It just happens. And it will continue to bother you, and you'll turn the dream inside out to decode the meaning. No, tell her to stop decoding the meaning, okay? Tell her not even waste her time with it, because that's when people get in trouble, is when they start giving too much meaning to things that just everybody runs through these things once in a while. Just let it go. But she says, I suggest you look for patterns occurring around those times when you have these dreams. Oh, for God's sakes, it's once every 6 months. So maybe she had a bad day at work, or maybe her husband was in a bad mood that day, so she had a dream about the old guy. So she's going to, okay. Anyway, she says, is something in your waking life triggering the dream? It's only once every 6 months. It's not that big a deal, really. Our moments of stress in your marriage are bringing this on. Now, write a detailed account of the waking period preceding the dream. I'm okay with that. Okay, so you just want to figure that. You write down Monday, had a rough day, blah, blah, blah. And the next time you have the dream, Tuesday, this happened to me. Okay, but this is where I think she's stupid. Also, write down a detailed description and script of the dream itself. Writing is important because active writing helps open up your mind and prompt thoughts and memories. Let me repeat this. Write down a detailed description of the dream. Hell no. Are you nuts? Unless you write it down and burn it right away, light it on fire. The last thing you want is to write your dream down and your husband comes home and finds the paper about you having these vivid dreams about some other guy and sex. You want to ruin your marriage? Do that. That is dumb. Don't write the shit down. Just if you want to write down what happened before the dream, maybe you can see that you were in a bum mood, fine. But it's once every 6 months. Let it go. Don't write things down that you don't want other people to ever see. That's just a rule in general, folks. All right. When you're in a relationship, it's not a good idea to keep things, leave things around, write things down. You can destroy a relationship, and you can say, oh, he shouldn't be suspicious, she shouldn't be suspicious, but those kind of things are detrimental. Don't do it. So, oh my goodness. I used to worry someone would read my journals after I died. Then again, I'd be dead and incapable of embarrassment. This is it. It's like if you got stuff in the attic that you don't ever want anybody to find out, you want to go through that thing with a fine-tooth comb and destroy anything that'll get you in trouble. You really do. Oh my goodness. Yeah, good rule. Don't say anything that's on your mind. Not that kind of thing. One of the things I see people destroy relationships with is like, tell me about what was sex like with your first girlfriend? Bad question. You do not want to get the answer. Leave it alone. These are things that are private. Private. So, so lady, you got a couple dreams a year. Wake up and go, well, that was interesting. And let it go. Do not write it down. Oh, I just thought that was so stupid. So stupid. Oh my goodness. Anyway, that was my fun too. Dear whatevers, dear Abby. No, that was dear Amy and dear Annie. So I find their answers sometimes okay, and sometimes, especially that one contact the police. The police have so much work these days. They got real crimes. And I think the crime of you stupid and sent somebody to somebody you probably didn't even have a way to, you probably don't even know where he lives. Well, maybe he sent it on. He might have had an address. Yeah. But he probably lives on the other side of the country, so you're not going to get it back. Just stupid. One should not ask the sex question. No, never. Bad idea. So, yeah, things to destroy relationships are where you make another person uncomfortable or nervous or questioning. And I mean, I believe in open communications, but there's some things, you just should let sleeping dogs lie. And, I don't believe in lying, but I also don't believe in, you have to necessarily lay out the entirety of your life, especially, maybe you have, some incident that was not necessarily criminal, but maybe embarrassing or trashy or tacky or whatever. You don't have to go tell everybody in the world, including your mate or your boyfriend, girlfriend, children. You don't have to do that. That's not necessary. It's not helping them. And this is what they have this concept that somehow they're helping the other person. And that's not true. That's not what you're doing. It's kind of sick. It's almost like it's almost sadistic when you tell these people this. Then they have to live with the crap, If you have to live with the crap, you live with it. But don't make somebody else have to live with it too. Keep it to yourself. Aunt Deanie, I love you too. And I'm glad everybody is here. That's fantastic. So all of you have been wonderful. And yes, so that's it for today. Again, if you're here to the end, please do like and subscribe to the channel. And hit the little bell so you can get notifications. And I'm going to go do my little video on the Polish woman scammer, the scammer of the Polish woman scammer. The two peas in a pod there, shall we say. So anyway, and this week, I have 2 shows that I'm going to do coming up. I want to let you know what they are. One is, let me remember what it is. I'm going to do this fascinating missing persons case this Saturday. It's going to be on Tiffany Daniels, missing person out of Florida. Really interesting case. And then next week, I'm going to do the Ray Rivera case where the guy goes missing in Baltimore at the Belvedere. He doesn't go missing. He goes missing, and then his body is found in the Belvedere in the strangest of circumstances. And that's been, people have been like really fascinated by that case and how the heck he ended up there. Was it murder? Was it suicide? What was it? So those 2 cases both have fascinated me. So when you ask why I do certain cases, it's sometimes just because I'm getting all the suggestions and I throw something and I go, oh my God, I got to look into this. And then sometimes I look into it enough where I want to go ahead and do it before I forget all the work I just did researching it. If I put it aside, I have to do the research all over again. So if I suddenly get attracted to something, yeah. And I was going to do Ray Rivera this week, but I had to buy a book that has all kinds of details, physics issues with the way he ended up where he ended up. And I wanted to be sure I read all the kind of, it's an argument that I want to make sure I see both sides of the argument with all the scientific stuff. So that's going to take me a little bit of a while. So I'm going to do, what's her name again? Tiffany Daniels this week, and I'll do Ray Rivera next week. So it should be fun. So hope to see you then, everybody. And yeah, and check out my little video I'm going to do on that woman, the other woman. Yeah, that one. See you soon.